So we are going to talk about P256 R1, which actually is the elliptic curve used in Passkeys and Intel Enclave SGX. So briefly, our team, we are 4 former Ledger Innovation. We left and we just launched our company. And our mantra is that there is no Web 2 or Web 3, but just web, and making the difference between the two vanish is our purpose. So we are currently focusing on supporting the P256 on-chain. We own the fastest implementation. Actually, I think that the safe module use it. Base is working on it, and some other actors. We are also working on ED 255.19 for a similar reason. It's implemented in Fido framework, which we work on, and we also have works on MPC frameworks. So among the team, I'm Renaud, I'm a cryptographer. I've been introduced. So briefly, what we did last year, we ended up finalists at East Global New York with our invisible wallet, so implemented Passkeys on-chain. We were rewarded for this open source implementation by the Retro Prix GF, and recently we've been granted by the Ethereum Foundation to continue our work on ECC work. And I will present some of our new results. Okay, so briefly, SegP is a non-native to Ethereum, but it's the most widely used elliptic curve for classical cryptography that we have in our daily lives. So when we perform TLS exchanges, some of the passports, so for instance, Dutch passports use this curve, Intel Enclave, SSH, and Passkeys. So we had two talks referring to it in the morning, thanks to them. It has been specified by NIST. So as I said, it's non-native, but it has to be emulated with EVM instruction in order to implement it for a smart contract or smart account. And being so widely used, it's a natural candidate for account abstraction. So we had this very good talk by Ivo about account abstraction. So briefly, how is this invisible wallet constructed is by using account abstraction with this curve. So this means that we are able to verify the passkey framework on-chain. So it means that using your Touch ID, what you are really doing is you unlock the access to the private key that is stored in the secure enclave of your smartphone, which is the most secure components of your smartphone. It's actually a secure element. And the related public key is pushed to the user of ERC 4337 as your signer. And there is a little front that translates the transaction from the passkey API to the on-chain. So this use has been described by Safe sooner, and also we had this MPC implementation over Passkeys, so I will be fast. And there are also some proposals to so mainly it was written by Justin Drake on Ethereum research. It has been implemented by Scroll and Tycho, and it happens that the Intel SGX, which aim to guarantee the integrity of computation executed in the enclave, is secure also by this curve. It's actually live on Scroll and Tycho. And actually, they are not using your computation, but they could save a lot of gas by doing so. So if there is someone connected to Scroll or Tycho, I would like to speak to them. So last year, we delivered the this fastest implementation. So we had two results. So a straightforward result without any additional deployment, which cost 200K gas, and one we requiring to deploy an extra contract for each public key. So this is expensive, it's 3 million gas, but the verification is very fast, down to 60K. And if you compare to all the gas you have to spend when you perform a standard ERC 4637 transaction, you already have something like around 200 to 300K. So this makes this signature that was overwhelming before. No, it's not that expensive related to the smart account implementation. So depending on the use, we provided these two implementation, improving by a large factor prior ones. And everything is described on the paper written here, and you have a link to the repo implementing it. So what we did since then, we make things better. So we make it even faster without pre-computation, dropping from 200K to 160. Only requiring a few amounts of extra call data, meaning that it's not fully compatible with the RIP 7212. But another very important point that we implemented is that we make this computation generic, because today we are talking about the 256, but there are so many curves and many use cases that could benefit to have a generic scalar multiplication, meaning there are, for example, other ecosystems, as Cosmos is using the ED255, there is a curve of Starknet, there is a framework Pala, Vesta. Actually, the G1 group of the BN curve could also be fastened by such mechanism. So genericity is also a very important property. So this is a list of proposal of EIPs to make evolution to the Ethereum protocol. And we don't know if tomorrow another curve rise or pop for some very convenient system. We'll have to update and push again a new EIP. So what we propose would be to implement double scalar multiplication. I will describe it later as one extra EIP. So I will try to give the insight of how those pre-computation works. So we had presentation yesterday by Lawrence and Armanch on elliptic curves. I won't go into deep details, but give the idea. So basically, what you do when you do a standard scalar multiplication is an algorithm called double and add, which is the equivalent of square multiply. No, anyone knows about those here? One, okay, not that much. And what we do when we compute this elliptic curve scalar multiplication, basically we only have two operations, doubling and addition. And what those implementations are performing is that instead of computing the double and add separately for each point, when we do a double scalar multiplication, so two multiplication at once, we are able to mutualize some of the computations. Here, what happens in blue are the double, the number of doubles. The addition are in orange, and in red appears the pre-computation. So, for instance, the last line of the table figure the high amount of pre-computation we have to perform with this extra contract. And so the two new implementations we are pushing are the two green lines. So one is still compliant with 7212 and a bit faster, and the EIP would like to push is the second green line. So with this 512 extra bit of data, we are able to have a massive gain in gas cost. So as I said, basically ECC is easy. You have points. What you can do with them, you can add them and you can double them. Okay. So only thing is that the scalar field is huge, and there are lot of points. Okay, so basically, what you perform when you want to do a double and add, so we don't have to know what elliptic curve is for instance, if I have an object and I can just add or double it, the way double and add works is that I will look at the exponents, and for each bit, if there is a 1, I will double and add the input value. If it is a 0, I will just double it. So starting from P, from the most significant bit, I have a 0, I double it. And when I have a 1, so computing the 5p, I double again, I add p, and this is 5p. You have the same example for computing 7 times the value q. So starting from q, double and adding is 3q, double and adding is 7q. The idea of the Strauss-Shamir trick is to mutualize the doubling. So you perform only one doubling, and you will perform only one addition. So now if I look at this sum p plus q, I have 1 point of precomputation h, and looking at each bit of exponents, now if there is a 1 on both lines, I will double and add the point h. If it's a 0, it's only a doubling, and if it's a 0 or 1 on one of the line, I will add p or q. So doing this, we mutualize all the doubling, and we keep the same number of additions. So basically, Strauss-Shamir is nearly twice effective as performing two scalar multiplication. And for higher dimension, you can add more precomputations, but this is the same principle. So just a word about isogenies, because I guess some of you have heard about the ED curve. Someone knows about ED 255? Yeah. For instance, it's used in Cosmos. It's used, actually, it's part of the FIDO framework. Only YubiKeys is implementing it. And it has a very interesting property. It's a Schnorr signature. Schnorr signatures are very more convenient to implement MPC framework more efficiently and more securely, because ECDSI is very error prone. There will be devastating consequence lately on the Genaro scheme. So we really hope that at some point we'll have a massive switch to the ED curve. But actually, you can, using the same, exactly the same formula as before, which is the Weierstrass representation of the P256, you can convert your Eduard curves to the Weierstrass representation, perform using this unified code, the computation, and then switch back to the ED representation. So this means that the code that we are pushing, so adding just those isogenies, enables us to implement the ED curve. So as a conclusion, so we implemented efficient and generic ECC progressive precompile. That means that we will deliver soon all the Solidity code associated to those results. It will be released around the 22 of April, and it's going to be audited, which was not the case of the previous FCL. And it adds generic ECC capacities to the EVM. But I think it would be interesting to push this as a RIP. Currently, there is a very interesting RIP which is called MSM. But I think that maybe if it has not been implemented, it's because it's very complex, because it has the genericity to the elliptic curves as well as unbounding the length of input, and its use is restricted to some ZK scheme, while double scalar multiplication actually enables to implement most most of the classical authentication mechanism, ECDSA, EDDSA, ECKCDSA, etc. So mainly what we will try to do is to find allies in L2 to push this, to avoid to switch from one RIP to another when we need to switch curves. And that concludes my talk.
Thank you very much, Renaud, for your presentation. And we still have some minutes for some questions. Does anyone have a question here? So no questions, but later if you come up like with an idea or doubt, Renaud is like will be reachable outside or through LinkedIn. Renaud, thank you very much.